When I was in high school, did a lot of sports.
Okay.
Enjoyed sports. Learned a lot from sports, which I always loved.
What'd you learn? Give me one nugget.
That I wasn't good, first of all. Let me start there.
Oh, Lord. Wait, what sport? What
So
sport?
football, baseball.
You weren't good?
No, I was not. So look. This is what I'm saying.
It's not a lot of men that will be honest and admit that.
I wasn't. But I had so much fun. I learned so much.
Nice.
But what I'm getting at is I thank God I wasn't good in football, believe it or not, because I still have friends that I love dearly that are trying to work themselves out of that identity. And I never had to. But with that being said, I still have to identify some identity, right?
Yeah.
And my identity, unfortunately, but at the time was considered really cool, is I had a way with the ladies.
You could play the game well, but you could play them women.
I start wanting to do something about it, and I would fall on my face, get back up, fall on my face, and get back up. And I do want to contribute, or I want to parallel it to addiction, like a drug addiction or something like that. I definitely know that is rooted in how hard this has been.
Peace, everybody. It's Miss Marianna, and I am so happy that you have made a wise decision. You have chose to tune into Refreshing Convos, and I have an amazing guest today. For those of you who are new to us, welcome. For those that are true to us, I am so glad that you came around the block again. As you know, this podcast is all about talking to our activists, our leaders, our artists who want to be transparent about what they've had to go through to come to their point of success. And sometimes we get a sanitized version. Sometimes we get the best of the best, not the rest, and we need to know what the true story is and how they've gotten to their heights and to their success. So today I have an amazing person in community. I've had the opportunity to work with him on different projects, and I was like, yo, you have something powerful and special, and I know behind that you have an amazing story of triumph, of overcoming, and that's what we're going to explore today. Let's go ahead and cue in the applauses. My fellow humans, we welcome my brother, Armoni Easley.
You're going far, and that's what matters. Have a good one. Hose up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Love, and love.
You know how we always say, thank you for being here.
Yes. This is an honor. To be honest, we've had some really rich conversations before we even turned on the camera.
Right.
So I know this is going to be one of those ones that's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's already helping me, and that's the beauty in this.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I think sometimes folks in positions of leadership, whether it's entrepreneurialism, again, artists, community activists, we can get into a space of being performative. Mm-hmm. And then that's the expectation when it comes to excellence. And for me, excellence includes the level of transparency on what it took for us to get to where we're at.
Absolutely.
And most of the time, folks are hiding behind it. So then they get into a space of silent self-destruction. Mm-hmm. And then we can't check ourselves publicly. We only want public praise. Have you ever been there before?
100%. And once again, it got if the cameras was on, they got some real good conversation that we've already started. And that's a huge part of what I think we're going to be talking about. So let me know if you want me to fire away or how you want me to fire away.
No, it's organic, but I do got a little structure to this thing.
I figured. And me and you both relate where it's like, nah, we led, you know.
Yeah.
And so in some ways, I'll take over a whole situation. Like I was telling y'all about UC Davis, where they asked a question. I'm like, I kind of got to say this first. And then what was the question again? Because in a lot of ways, it's something I feel like I got to get out, you know.
We want the flow, and I'm not going to cut your flow or cut your wisdom. But at the same time, I know when we're passionate, you know, we get excited and we get off into the ethers. Mm-hmm. We want a balance of both of them.
No, we have
because the flow is where the truth is. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's too calculated, right? Even when people say things like, you know, controlling the narrative, I'm like, well, what you got to control? Like, what you trying to omit in this process? Like, if it's organic and it's transparent, we don't have to sanitize it. Yeah. And so for those of you who are tuning in, I want you to understand the nature of this podcast is, number one, never to exploit a person. There's a lot of people out here who are sharing their stories. We got 1 million platforms now. And what happens is we start exploiting our pain for recognition, and then we don't go beyond the pain. And then that becomes the end of our story. I'm the wounded warrior. I'm the struggling this. And it's like, okay, we can understand and acknowledge that was a time and a space, but we actually want to support you in going beyond that.
Yeah.
So as we start out, of course, we want to know some foundational things: who you be, where you're from, some of that family structure and experience that molded you and shaped you. Give me some of that first.
But you said something I got to touch on.
Oh, well, come on, bring it.
Well, because just yesterday, I do think that in a lot of ways, our culture, where we come from, if you ain't been through nothing, why am I listening to you, right? And that's so like false, where it's like, why we have to have, like, part of who I am is my story, right? And it's a lot of things that happened that have made me to be who I am today. But the goal should be the goal, and that should be my kids or even myself shouldn't have to always have a struggle story, you know? And so I think that's the part that, like, when you said that, I'm like, she was there like a fly in the room, because yes, we want to tell you what we overcame, but we also want to let you know, like, life is good and it's flowing and going, and we're still trying to figure it out, and it's good while we're trying to figure it out. So Armoni Easley, social impact entrepreneur.
Oh, say it again. Say it again.
Social impact entrepreneur. I do a lot of speaking. I do a lot of consulting. I'm a lifelong mentor. I'm a creator of a really cool product, from book to card experience. I'm looking over there because somebody helped me out with that. With that too.
Thing.
Yeah, life work. And also, we're going to exchange, right? I'm going to have your book right after, right?
All right, cool.
But a lot of what I've dedicated my life to doing with these 15 years, these blessings of 15 years, is really just to be the change that I needed. You know, the change that I either I inherited, that people blessed me with, and the things that I didn't see. And I was like, well, then I mean I got to create it. And so I stopped. Well, let me go straight into the actual details. Co-founder and CEO of a really cool organization called Project Optimism. We're a community-based nonprofit specialized in youth development through mentorship, where we hire young professionals and college students on their journey, supporting young people. We went down to elementary school because we wanted to be preventative, and we lit fire with being preventative and going down to that age group. And so we went from starting in Sacramento to expanding to LA, to serving a little under 400 kids on a weekly basis and thousands of people on a yearly basis. And so God is God. We had an idea.
And God is good all the time.
Absolutely. And the reason why I like to say God is God, because he already been that.
That's
right. So that's the way I kind of play with it. So I take one O out and make it happen.
I know that's right. Okay, we'll take the remix, but we always gonna say God is good all the time.
No, we good. You know, people, we cool. You know, we put meaning behind things, but no, I still say God is good.
If you let me mess with you, I'm gonna mess with you.
Well, you good at that, but I receive it. All of it is what it needs to be.
So God is God and
God is good.
God is good. There you go. We fixed that together.
We didn't fix nothing. It was exactly where it
we
needed
remixed
to be.
it.
But I will say you are good at trolling people.
I am a righteous troll.
But no. Maybe troll doesn't allow for me to say what it is. You make me be impeccable with my words.
Yeah.
You make me be more intentional.
Yeah.
You make me like think about what I'm saying, not just regurgitate. You know, so you represent something that's important.
Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes, look, we side comboing, but that's what we're here for. I think sometimes too, people who have the art of oratorical skill sets, because we do things repetitiously, it can come off as a pre-recorded, right? And so at one point we're learning our 60-second pitch, and we're trying to, but my goal is to make sure that you pause and like recognize, like, this is not, we want to know you and we want to know your resume, but you have so much personality, and to take that breath in between and to play and to joke and to jest, because if not, that's when it becomes robotic. You know what I'm saying? And I saw you in that flow. You was like, bop, 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 bop. And I'm like, okay, let me mess with him real quick.
Well, and thank you. I think I do it so much to get people to find this your first time. Even the most important people in your life, y'all, were strangers at one point, right? So a part of me is like, let me not miss the moment of letting them know the substance of what's happening. And this is the real thing. It's not a drill. But also, like, I can't wait to just be able to, like you said, like, this is real. And let me tell you a little bit more about what got us here. So I'm with you. Thank you for shaking
it. We back on track. There we go.
That was
God
important.
is God, and you have developed your business. How long have you had Project Optimism?
So yeah, Project Optimism has been 8 years as a 501c3 nonprofit, and then the for-profit. I've been doing it for a while, so I was just operating as a sole proprietor.
Yeah.
We talking to entrepreneurs out here. Basically, I was just using my name, my social security number, and then I started realizing, like, oh, I got traction, I have motion, like the young people would say.
Yeah.
And then I changed it into an LLC. So I have a nonprofit and a for-profit, and Easley Done & Company's been around for a little under 5 years.
Okay.
5 years as official.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does your
4 years official? Sorry.
How does your self-image shift from going through just using the name to legitimizing yourself? How did that impact your growth and development?
Well, so the key part when you hear Easley Done & Company, I mean, Project Optimism is very community-based when it comes down to the people. I'm really big on people. But even with Easley Done & Company, the most important part is going to be the in-company part one day. So me and you both know that sometimes we got to get the party started. We got to we have to be the face of something to get people interested, to get the substance going, and then you add those other like antennas and different components to it. And so in a lot of ways, me just knowing that one of my biggest skill sets and blessings is social capital, knowing people, connecting people, and maximizing their opportunity to be walking their purpose with me is important to me. And so I don't know if I answered it, but we're getting into the organicness of this. Yeah.
So in terms of serving Project Optimism and leading in that, and then also having Easley Done, what is Easley Done?
Yeah, Easley Done & Company, LLC.
Done & Company. Yeah. When you are doing your independent motivational speaking, that's Easley Done & Company. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Absolutely.
And that's your consulting work and things like that.
But you know what's so important? We bring all the hats. Like I'm making sure they know about everything. I need them to know everything that's the opportunity, right? And so yes, and yes. In a lot of ways, what happened was when I took that leap of faith, I leveraged my relationships and my impact when I was working at a certain school district, and they were like, "Oh, where are you gonna go?" And I'm like, well, Project Optimism. And so immediately we were able to have contracts immediately with it, right? Leverage that impact, right? But the other part was like, well, when you were doing this with the school district, we still want that. I'm like, oh, shoot. Easley Done & Company. It wasn't called that yet, but I realized like it was certain things, and that's life, that's us. It's certain things that only we could do.
Right.
Like I say that a lot of times when I'm speaking, like young person, adult, whoever you are, like literally if you don't go after your goals, if you don't go after certain things, it will never happen because certain things only you could unlock.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's truly the entrepreneurialism spirit. Like
that part.
For those of you who are watching who are entrepreneurs, and if you're an artist, you are an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
You know, if you are in activism and you want to be paid for the activism work you do, and it's not just for the love and just for the struggle only.
Don't let nobody play you with that.
Yeah, and you need to maintain and sustain your lifestyle. You are, an entrepreneur. So let me ask you though, when you left the said school district, what did you do there?
So I worked at the district office. I worked for equity and student achievement, and I worked for the family community engagement department. So it allowed for me to really, really be effective in a way where like everything I was doing in the community, I was able to add value and bring it to the school district. And every relationship and things I was learning and the things I was trying. Cause that's why I tell people like, why it's not on your dime, learn, create things, like do the proof of concept on somebody else's dime. Go on those conferences, take those trainings, build those relationships, and do all those things that's gonna allow for you to take that and take it into your business as well, indirectly or directly. Transferable skills. Everything can be used.
You know, sometimes people perform at their best when they're working for somebody. And then when it comes to the confidence necessary, it's like you was doing this for them effectively 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 years. That confidence through those transferable skill sets in different environments, people then render themselves powerless.
For sure.
And a big part of my passion for uplifting the voice and the work of entrepreneurs is allowing you to see yourself.
Come on.
There's so many entrepreneurs who are actually like active and they're still suffering from imposter syndrome at any time when you got your business flowing and it started creating impact. Did you have any experiences with imposter syndrome?
Yeah, so let me actually tell you this. Absolutely, but mine's look different in different spaces. But let me tell you something that makes me relentless is I didn't have a traditional school trajectory of a route. Like I went to Fresno State for a little bit, did a whole bunch of city colleges, got a whole bunch of credits scattered around. But I don't have that degree, which I think a lot of times people feel like I got to get the degree. I got to do this. I got to do that. Then I can get the job, or then I can start the business.
Man.
I don't operate under none of those laws at all. I'm just a doer. And so once I learned I'm a learn by doer, and I'm an untraditional learner where I can figure things out, where I can go on YouTube University, Google University, and my experience and the people that I was connected with, I was a force where it's like, well, why not?
Yes.
I have won so much because I'm so curious, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
That like now it's fun. Like I'm literally telling you right now, like it's nothing I feel like I can't do, but it's because I don't think I operate from what people are used to doing, which is let me go the traditional route, let me get my degree. Oh, this ain't enough. In order for me to get paid, I got to get my master's. And it's like that works for people. You know, if you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, that's what you have to do for you.
Right.
But for me, I never had to once I realized my calling and what I was doing, I never had to live with those laws, if you will. Those invisible laws is what I'm getting at. Those societal, this is what it looks like.
Right.
And then also something that I'm key on, going back to the imposter syndrome, is I'm big on surrounding myself around everybody that can give answers, right? So if it's somebody that's really, really big on data, I have a partner that I work with that can address that to whoever our community partner is, right? If somebody is, you know, very big on, I don't have another example, but whatever they need, I guarantee I have people on the team that can answer that, can operate in that.
Excellent.
People that got their doctors, people that got their masters, people that operate in ways that allow for them to not give they would be crazy. I want to say stupid, but they would be crazy if they didn't give us a shot because we have what you need.
Excellent. Excellent. You know, it's interesting. First of all, give me a little pound.
Let's go.
We share that experience. Yes. Most people, based on where I am in my career, assume that at minimum I have a master's and have an AA.
Yeah, you have a doctorate. I've already made my mind up. You can't tell me nothing different.
But you know, to kind of chime in on the commonality that we have there, actually, I think the imposter syndrome that I accepted was imposed by other people. So I kind of have this backward experience of imposter syndrome where I knew I was great. I knew that whatever I applied my mind to, I knew I was an autodidact. I knew education is not a monolithic experience and that it's everywhere. And even before organized classrooms, there were mentorships and apprenticeships in ancient spaces. It eventually evolved to those mentors and guides and educators coming together. But your first teacher is your mama, and she, was probably learning half of what she was doing as she went, right? So for me, it was,
I like that.
I was getting in environments where people that did go that, and I don't even want to, I'm trying to stop learning to say traditional and non-traditional, because even that discredits it.
It's a word.
Right? Because some of the stuff we do as people of African descent is absolutely traditional, but in this environment, I got accustomed to saying non-traditional, right? Again, being intentional with our words and our expressions and modifying it, right? But what happened was my career started excelling. And I went from
I've been seeing
being
can I just say really quick
hold on, go home.
I just want to say, I know you cooking with hot grease. I'm sorry,
hot
but
grease.
Let me tell you how dope you are, because I met you because you were MCing the MC Light something for change, Team Up for Change
NBA event.
Yes. And like I mean, respectfully, because I love where I'm from, Northern California, Bay Area, Sacramento, but I wouldn't even think you was from here because you over here rocking with MC Light and you the light, like, well, y'all the light, but I'm saying you back and forth, boom, boom, boom. And so even when you came down and you were so personable and you showed love and gave me opportunity to connect with you, because I'm like, I can see how this can work in the future. That was really cool that you had both about you, So I did want your audience to know, like, you move in such a really beautiful way that I felt like I knew you before I knew you, and I appreciate you for that.
I appreciate it too. And what I will say is I have given myself a doctorate degree in community engagement. And that's where that is. It's like, actually, people go to networking events and don't network at all. They actually show up with the card and they meet people, but they don't follow up and follow through. We were in contract to doing work within that 6 months after that, right? So for me,
my staff love you, by the way.
Yeah, and I love your staff. It's a great group. But for me, the imposter syndrome was actually imposed on me because I went from being a student to then training those educators that I once was a student at that
Come
school,
on.
then facilitating, then keynoting, right? And so what happened was, you know, at first it was like, oh, she's so cute, she's so positive, pat her on the head, oh, I love her, she's so down to earth.
Yeah.
And then they showed up and they're like, wait, who's the training facilitator? She was a student at our school when she was getting AD. Wait, who's the keynote at our address? And so you can feel that, right? I'm an emotional intuitive. So, you know, there might be smiles on the face, but number one, I realized and I learned quickly that people be counting your pocket.
Yeah.
Right? So it's cute when you're doing it for free, right? And you're a free poet or you're a free keynote or MC. But when somebody is behind the scenes that's a part of writing that check, and they go back and tell some of those said professors or those organizational development folks, and they're like, how did you, with an AA, surpass me in one check and what I make in a month? And I hate it at this environment. And so I started feeling that, and I was like, should I be feeling bad about it? Am I supposed to be here? And then after so long, I had to check in with Creator and be like, yeah, you're supposed to be here. And just because you didn't do it their traditional route, where their outer confidence comes from this institution, and this is no knock to any of our amazing scholars that have gone that route, but there's not enough credit for autodidacts and those who are self-educated or use community engagement as their form of education.
Well, to be clear, it's like people might have that mindset to like finish, right? And that's good that you were able to do that. But sometimes people didn't go into college willing to like learn, apply learning.
Yes.
And in a lot of ways, it took for me to walk in my purpose to know what I was using it for.
Come on.
Where like school couldn't play me no more.
Yeah. And I activate what I learned immediately.
Yeah.
I am not a layaway, educated person where once I get this accolade and this institution says, I am going to apply everything. And that, I think, was the difference in my entrepreneurialism experience. So
even the way I took classes after that, I knew that I only wanted to really take class. I wasn't doing it to complete no more. I was doing it to enhance me as a leader.
Yeah.
And that's a different, that shift changed the game.
Yeah. And it speaks to volumes to how we serve and how we honor other people and their different approaches to success. So let me ask you
said
this.
So many good things.
Yeah.
And it was a mirror to what you were saying about, people that root for you and then they start seeing like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I'll do a little too good, you know?
It's cool until you surpass me in certain areas where I have yet to figure out. That is what I would feel on the energy of people. Oh, for sure. Your success is great as long as you don't surpass me and you surpass me without doing the formula that I'm convinced is the only way to get there.
And that somebody convince them of that because it's learned behavior.
Yeah.
But go ahead. My bad.
So, but let's go back and talk about that environment and let's talk about college and your different experiences there. And were you in the arts? Were you an athlete? Were you in sciences? What was your thing in school?
So I was just telling y'all that I was speaking at UC Davis and I was able to talk to a whole bunch. I think it was a little bit of everybody, but juniors and sophomores mainly. Yeah. Then they're going to be transitioned to juniors and seniors, and help me with this because once again, that people pleasing, not trying to rock the boat too much. I always am big on saying like, I just want to be an example that there's multiple ways to obtain success. And so I'm big on saying like, I'm not telling you not to do school or X, Y, and Z because I did school. I still benefit from institutions. Same. 80% of our staff go to universities, graduated, Sac State, Long Beach State, it's a beautiful tool and I still benefit from that, right? Yes. But I want to give you this perspective of my story so you can shake up your thoughts of like, that's what it needs to be.
That one-way linear approach.
And so, but part of me, I know I'm saying it because I don't want them to go home and say, oh, this dude said he didn't go to college, so I don't need to go,
Well, the thing is I think what people happen, and I can relate to that, is they think because you're advocating and speaking to your very rare route that you're dissing theirs. And let's just make it very clear. I'm going to look dead in the camera. I don't care how you go about earning your educational experiences, enriching your life, increasing yourself with knowledge and wisdom. Just do it and make sure that it is truthful, justice, and righteous to your learning process. If not, you can be a miserable person who went this traditional route, and that's not what we want. Or you could be a person who needs that leadership and guidance all the way through, and you're struggling trying to be an entrepreneur and you don't have the self-discipline and drive that some people have. So let's just make it clear that we're not here to say one is better than the other. No. We're saying make sure to align with the one that best fits you. It may be a combination of the both. Like for us, we both had traditional, Western institutional education, but we also went our self-learning routes.
Absolutely.
So pick.
But I got you to answer your question. So, so in a lot of ways, and we was gonna jump into this, and I'm gonna give it to you now. Of thinking like, when I was in high school, did a lot of sports. Okay. Enjoyed sports. Learned a lot from sports, which I always loved.
What'd you learn? Give me one nugget.
That I wasn't good. First of all, let me start there.
Oh Lord, wait, what sport? What sport?
So football, baseball.
You wasn't good?
No, I was not. So look. This is what I'm saying.
There's not a lot of men that will be honest and admit that.
No, I wasn't. But I had so much fun. I learned so much.
Nice.
And the thing is, once again, I'm downplaying myself because I still scored touchdowns. I still started, and I only played 2 years of football ever, and I still did my thing. Okay. Considering, but what I'm getting at is, I think, here go another thing, another thought to just put out there. I thank God I wasn't good in football, believe it or not, because I still have friends that I love dearly that are trying to work themselves out of that identity. And I never had to.
They adhered to it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you play college ball, if you're always getting praised about it, it's like, who am I after football, after basketball, after track?
If I don't make it to the NFL and the NBA.
And even with those people, and even when I get opportunity to talk to young people, or whoever is on their journey there, it's like, even if you're LeBron James, you have to retire one day. Yeah. So who are you? What character? Financial literacy? Like, what are the different things that you're going to make sure that you do to make sure you're good long term, right?
Good.
But with that being said, I still have to identify some identity, right? Yeah. And my identity, unfortunately, but at the time was considered really cool, is I had a way with the ladies.
Hold on. It's getting good now. Come on.
So
let's not like romanticize it. Like when you say I had a way, that's pretty blanketed. What you mean?
Because I was trying to work into it, right?
I get to it.
But player life, right? Where it's like my dad was a ladies' man. My mom even validated that part, and my mom was my superhero. You talk about the first educator that I had in my life. I don't think it was anything she couldn't find the answer to, right? Mm-hmm. So if she's saying that, and it's normalized to society's normalizing, and one of my favorite people on this earth is my mom, and she's validating it. And then I never got to meet my dad. My dad was murdered a month before I was born. Wow. And so the way I get to know him is, like they say, you look just like him. But the way I get to know him, in a lot of ways, people say just be, because you act just like him. You have the same personality, the way you just touch things and it turns to go. They used to say he had the Midas touch. And so the way he was operating in the streets and the way he's operating in that life in the Bay Area in the 80s and stuff like that, it was glorified. But I, probably because it's just the optimistic mindset, I see the value in those transferable skills that could have been if he had a Project Optimism.
Come on.
If he had a mentor like
he had that mouthpiece.
He had it. And I know I do have that. And so just me getting to know myself, and if that was a part of who my dad was, that was something I wanted to honor when I was in high school.
Right. Now, how did your mom, when you say, because that's interesting, you said your mom validated his ladies, man. Like, what was she doing and saying? What were you noticing?
Well, let me normalize my mom real quick, because I'm gonna just say it in general. Okay. I think it's true to be said where a woman don't necessarily seem like they like the guy that don't got women already on them. It seems like
highly desired,
the higher desired thing. And so in a lot of ways, I think that was a common thing where it's like, well, if you don't have this, then I don't want you, or whatever. Yeah. And I'm not speaking for every woman. I swear I'm not on that. But I think in my head, I have enough experience with enough women where they're like, the famous line they used to say, like, you look like you got a whole bunch of chicks. Yeah. And they used to say they say hoes,
And it's vice versa too.
Yeah.
Like
no,
men
for
want the women who are the most sexualized, for desirable. Sure. And one of the comments they'll say is, I was in a room before with some brothers, and one of them had their woman walked up and talked to him and then walked away. And all of the brothers was like, damn, man, that's you.
Yeah.
And you know, just the words, it was like, no, actually that's her and that's his partner. But they were desiring her and kind of giving him his props. And so that makes sense. So it wasn't that your mom was necessarily uplifting him being a player. No. But she was like, yeah, I got that one that everybody wanted.
And essentially that's what it is. Like the root of it is really that he just had something about him that not just women. Yeah. The charisma, you know, the kids would say the charisma that not just women love, but people love. And so in a lot of ways, I took pride in that, right? It started off there, but then I realized, I can use this for the community. I can use this for entrepreneurship. I can use this to tell the story about what we're doing and how people are just want to get behind it based on hearing me speak once, you know? But I didn't know that at the time. I just knew that I love the women, and I didn't know why I loved them so much, so I blamed it on my dad, you know? But that was one of the identities that I had. So I wasn't good at player. Yeah, I wasn't good at sports. Didn't play in college and stuff like that.
You could play the game well, but you could play them women.
Right. And the thing is, I want to say this too, because I don't want to sound like I was.
I'm teasing.
No. I'm trying to justify it, and I know I always want to hold myself accountable to this.
Yeah.
I used to always justify the thought of, because I still was playing at the end of the day, but I felt like I was a righteous player. Like I told him what it was. You know, my mom always told me, if you told him what it is, then
honest pimp.
Right.
Oh, I said
I'm glad y'all family, because it's real. But honestly, I'm not running from this. This ain't even something I'm running for. It is something that I put in a lot of work, and this is good, because I went to a men's accountability group often in this area, and it was really, really cool. I ain't gonna say the area, but in this area, and one of the OGs said something really, really dope, and we kind of like landed on this understanding where it's like, we always was taught, get it out of your system, and then he said something so profound afterwards where we all kind of fine-tuned it, where it's like, you're not getting it out of your system, you're creating a system. You're creating a system that's hard for you to get out of.
Beautifully said.
You're creating a system that's hard for you to get out of. And think about that. I've been doing, I was sexually active in middle school.
Right.
And then I'm thinking about it. Like, I didn't start working my way out of it until like my mid 20s. And I wouldn't say I was working my way out of it. I wanted to do something about it. I always wanted to do something about it.
You noticed it was an issue.
But I always noticed it was an issue, but I was so locked in it. I was building that system where it's like, I didn't realize that this was just over promoted thing that never was going to fulfill me, right? I just didn't know. And so heading into my later 20s is when I start wanting to do something about it, and I would fall on my face, get back up, fall on my face and get back up. And I do want to contribute, or I want to parallel it to addiction, like a drug addiction or something like that. I definitely know that is rooted in how hard this has been for me my whole, like, even the idea of like, what they say, you always an addict or something like that. Like, I feel like I still have symptoms and things that can bring up. I could drive to a certain, I could drive to a certain area. I'm like, I remember when I did that, you know, and where it's like, dang, like that's how much work that I've done that went against where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of where I'm at now because of how much work I had to put in. But it was very, very hard. Operating
in full awareness too. Yeah. And you know, it's interesting because
when
we look at society, right, we can say this is an over-sexualized society. But oftentimes the finger gets pointed at the visibility of women's over-sexualization and is rarely pointed to the behavior of men's participation 100%. In that. Like even the statement of 100%. Get it out of your system that Elder did a dope remix on, right? But even that idea of getting it out of your system, basically, or let's take a movie reference, Coming to America, you got to go soil your royal oats, right? Yeah. Really what you're doing is justifying being a hoe.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's just call it what it is, like hoe-like behavior, because you can be sexually active as a younger person if that's your choice and you're not waiting for marriage and that's your decision, and still be wise about being sexually active. You can explore your body and share your body with another person, but this overly pornographic, perspective and viewpoint of the volume instead of the intimacy and the quality and the purity in something, it's really, really rampant in our community. And we have young children watching porn because they have phones in their hands constantly. So where we're at with it now, this is what years ago, 15, 20 years ago
think
for
about
you.
What they're going through now.
you didn't even have that kind of access. Back in the day, it was girly magazines. You had to probably stole from your daddy half the time, or your family member, or your friends. And now to have it not only in real time, 3D time, and then things like OnlyFans and things like that, where people will justify and say, "Hey, that's how I make money."
Right.
It is just so normalized in the fact. Right. It's really, really serious. So I appreciate this conversation and this transparency, because I was talking with my producer earlier in a conversation about this idea of what a good man is, right? And how sometimes men get to a point of their life where they're now making those aware decisions. They're doing the work, right? And then I'm a good man. Yeah. And he was asking me, how do you get as a good man who's reformed your ways or changed your ways or owned your shit, as I would say in the work that I refer to, how do you help to support and heal other women who have been damaged by other men who were in their phases of not being and doing harm in their life, not necessarily being good men? Yes. And what I said to him was, be transparent about when you weren't making good and healthy decisions, so that they can see what transformation looks like. But even more transformation, knowing the difference between somebody who's performing being a good man and somebody who's willing to have some of these gritty, deep conversations on, like, this is how vicious I was with it, and this is how nasty, and it was embarrassing and it was ugly. Selfish. That is a different than, cleaning up and just being covert about how you do it, right? No. Talk to me more about that.
You can't run from that fade, quote unquote. Right? You can't run from that. And I think that what is it? How old am I now? Dang.
How old are you?
7 years. I'm about to be 35 in August.
35. There you go. Oh yeah, a Leo. I should have known it.
Gang member. I'm just playing with you. Go. But I would say 7 years ago. I would say 7 years ago. Okay. I wouldn't be able to talk about it so matter of fact, because I was still in it. Yeah. Oh, because I was still in it. I was still battling through it, and I'm still in it, but I'm on the other side of it. Where it's like I put the right barriers, I've created the new habits. I'm a proud married man that, like, when I say, like, this is more sustainable, this is where I wish I'd known this a long time ago. And not even just, and this is the part that I think is powerful too, that I think people need to hear across the board.
Look, say it in that camera. Talk to young folks out there.
My happiness, the way I'm moving as a man now, is not contingent on how my wife acts. Like, it's not, it doesn't even operate that way. I always say that I'm being faithful to God. I have this newfound, like, respect and honor within myself that took a very long time for me to get there, to, like, actually value me. Like, I was giving advice to my little sister or my other little homegirls and stuff like that. Of, like, telling them to respect their body in X, Y, and Z. And I finally start taking that advice for myself, And so I always say that my faith in God, my newfound relationship with myself, and value in myself complements me acting and moving accordingly with my wife. And I think that's the part that get missing, where it's like, and I've heard women say this too, 'cause I got a lot of, like, homegirls that would, speak to me, and they'll, like, basically, like, if he acted out, I'm gonna do my thing. It's like, that's hurting you. And that's why, and that was another gem that happened with these fellas I've sat down with, where somebody was like, hey, like, how you talk about somebody cutting themselves, right? That form of self-harm. Yeah. Ours was our sexual. Come on. That was our form of self-harm. Speak to it. Like self-destruction, And once you get into a certain area of it, it's like, well, I'm already here, it's like justifying it or whatever. And it's just like, I thank God that I never, ever just, like, accepted it. 'Cause I always knew I could do better. Yeah. And I always took pride in, like, the progression. Like, okay, I was able to do it for this long. I was able to chill, Yeah. And it's another part too, being a man that is confident in his purpose. I do think I'm decent looking when I got my lineup and my, twists going. Lineup. Even before that, just the lineup. Don't play with me. My wife knows. But
he said, "Wifey, I am him."
Yeah. But I'm having fun with it. But at the end of the day, what I'm getting at is, like, I even had to realize, like, oh shoot, it was times where I was in connections with people in the past that I had to save that particular woman from themselves. As in, like, I'll give them, 20% of my time. Maybe we'll see each other every other week or once a month or something like that. And they'll take that and think, like, okay, maybe it's hopes that we might connect. Right. And I'm like, God, like, why you? I told her what it is, and he's like, son, like, you got to cut that off completely, know, because this is also, like, yes, it's messing her up, but it's also messing you up to where I want you to be and where I have for you, And so it took a lot of work in that, because I was thinking I was working towards, moving right, because I was communicating, but my actions still gave them hope. Yeah. And I know, like, I have homegirls that have done the same thing on the other side too, so I know it goes back and forth. Absolutely. But my I statements is, I had to do a lot of work, and it was a progression of realizing like, no, you need more. You need to do more. You need to do more. You need to do more.
You know, we're in a culture and a society where we refer to things like a roster. Right? Like I've heard folks talk about a roster, whether or not they want to, you know, the lineup and normalizing that and not seeing how like, you know, you think you're the one in a advantageous space because you are manipulating it and then being honest about it. Right. So like that piece about like, I was being honest about, I'm being honest about the harm that I'm doing to you. Yeah. That's a cold game right there. Like you have to really have a serious space of cognitive dissonance to use that to justify like, I know I'm hurting you. I'm going to let you know I'm hurting. If that's not some like straight up sociopathic behavior,
that's real.
Where you are consciously disconnected from the harm you're doing and you're so bold and blunt about it that you'll tell the person what it is. And you're more than likely hinging to a person that has a low sense of value, confidence, self-esteem that will receive that and kind of take whatever tricked off time and energy that they can get from you. So that even it empowers a very sociopathic player-like mentality.
You're right.
And our music is just the soundtrack to it now.
Yeah, and what you said is so real, where was the point. Like I would get to a point where it's like, I know it's more because I'm still convicted by it. And I thank God that, because I think in my head, like some people out there maybe that don't get that conviction. And I feel really bad for them. Because I always felt like, this ain't right, so let me figure this out. I need
deep down inside.
And I think that's always good, but I would say I would justify it too. And I know I've thought about this in the past where I'm like, I'm cool with all my exes. I'm cool with all the people I've dealt with. You know
I've heard that one before.
Right. And where it's like, it's still love, right? Because at the end of the day, they can't say I didn't tell them. But then to your point, for accountability purposes, is I would tell them what it is, but I still want to hang out during the winter time. I still want to hang out and go to the movies. I still want to hang out. So the way I treated you when we was together is like we're in a relationship. That's cold. You know?
It's a cold game.
That's cold.
And you know, women do
it's selfish.
this too.
It's selfish.
And the way women do it too is like convincing ourselves that, okay, we're going to allow a man to enter us. And friends with benefits, right? Normalizing that, or putting ourselves in positions where it's like, you know, I'm not going to get attached. I know what it is. We're human beings. If we are connected on a kinetic level.
Come on.
I don't care how disconnected and abused, I don't care how much you hate men and you hate women, there's going to be a connectivity there. Now, how it's expressed and how dramatic it is, how many tires get sliced, how many eyes get banged up, how many babies get lost, right? We don't want to look at that. We just consider that drama, but we don't want to look at the fact that we often make silent contracts and agreements with people, and then we don't want to pay up to the consequences as a result of that contract that wasn't realistic to begin with to be kept, or to exit the contract in a healthy way. Most people don't know how to admit like, oh, this is getting toxic. Usually what happens is we have to break each other to break up. And that's powerful, because if we're talking about we want to save community, we want to be positive, but we're coveting like these, or we're covering up these little secret like ways of life, and I know I've been there. I've been in a situation where I'm like, you was with that person? That was an awful decision to make. Were you mentally, emotionally, physically? You know, we'll joke around and be like, you'll look at an ex and you'll be like, that's what I was dealing with? You know, when you're there, first of all, congratulations to us, because we can look at those moments and we can be wise and be like, I'd never do that again. But the idea is, if that becomes your lifestyle, where you can go to an app and swipe left on Monday and be with someone on Friday, these platforms are depending on you being addicted and abusing yourself, and then just telling yourself because you're being honest, or you knew what it was when you met me, where you met me, or again being the good guy and the good girl. I've been there before, where I'm presenting to the world, but then I'm making moves in silence, and it's like, my mama wouldn't be proud of that. My creator wouldn't be proud of that. So to get to that other side, so that's what I want to explore with you now.
Well, let me say this though,
is that other side.
I don't know if you asked in this, but I think it's important for me to always state it.
Come on.
Mentorship. I say it in a lot of speaking engagements. Whenever I get an opportunity, I always say mentorship has saved my life. And in a lot of ways, people make the assumption immediately that, you must have had a lot of good mentors that poured into you. And in those formative years, actually, no. The reason why I say mentorship saved my life is because I became one. And so you're talking about it, right? I justify the thoughts that I've never smoked. So I'm about to be 35 years old, never smoked in my life, never drank in my life. This is the area that I need to get better at. You know, this is the area, and that's not even really being ridiculed to society, right? And I'm like, oh man, like I'm doing great work at this foster care agency, this counseling agency, this school district, this nonprofit work, right?
Yep.
Right. But what I'm getting at is I'm operating only at a 30% towel. Imagine if I'm really operating fully in what I'm doing, what I can do, right? And so that always was the goal. It's like, yes, now I know that this is an addiction and this is not going to be easy for me, but I always was thinking, like, if I'm doing great work, it was the curiosity, right? If I'm doing great work at this capacity, imagine what I could do when I'm fully in it, right? Yeah. And to even step into it right now of telling you, like, I am, like, ooh, let me stand up.
Come on, I feel the heat.
Because it took a long time for me to get here. Like, for me to be like, I am proud of the man that I am today. Yes. And I can stand on every part of my life. Not perfect, but every part of my life. Not just, I do all good over here, but this area I'm hiding in, and I'm in silence and I'm suffering, because that's another thing too. I'm suffering. I can finally say, nah, like in every part of my life, I'm walking in it, right? And I'm doing something about it as things come up. Right. That's another part. It's like you don't arrive. It's not an arrival part. It's an ongoing journey.
It's a journey.
That's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it this time.
And it's part of our human experience. Like when we signed our little contract with the Most High and we chose our parents, nothing in there had to say they had to be perfect. Yeah. We came with certain conditions as a result of what they experienced, but we also come with our own free will and decision making. I think for me, I was heavily addicted to smoking weed, like heavily addicted. And because, again, it's another thing that's now legal and justified. And it's like, no, you are in a constant stupor. And I was a high functioning weed head too. So, I could smoke, clean up, and go facilitate an event. But when I came home after the high went down off of serving the community, right, feeding the unhomed, doing all these amazing things with young people, I had to look at, well, what's that little part of me that's lingering that as soon as I wake up in the morning, I need to hit a blunt. Yeah. Before I go to sleep, I got to be in a stupor, right? And not brush my teeth and wash my face and all the things that happen as a product of that. Why? And I remember the last time I smoked so much, I was nodding off. And I woke up and it was nighttime. And I said to myself, there's something more than this than just recreational or even ceremoniously, because you can look at different walks of life that use the plant or different herbs and things for healthy purposes. Right. But I had to be honest with myself. No matter how much Snoop and everybody and the dispensaries and everybody's making money and it's stimulating the economy, there were so many reasons. All my friends, I even had to look at the fact that about 80% of my friends weren't my friends, because once I said I wasn't smoking, they didn't come around again. Jeez. So I was like, dang, I literally dwindled down to less than a handful of people that still smoked, but they respected me and they wouldn't engage around me. Wow. And I had to look at that. So I think what we're coming to in this conversation is you're giving us a beautiful example, a very transparent example about a very normalized addiction. Yeah. And, we can be sedity, right? We go, I don't smoke crack. At the end of the day, people are addicted to their phone. I saw a meme the other day that said the next time you judge somebody who is addicted to hard drugs, put your phone down for 24 hours. Yeah. And every time you want to go look at your phone and swipe and peek at your likes and views, that's how a substance abuser feels times 10. Come on. Right? That's a good one. And so I really value this conversation, because if we really extend this, especially to those, not just everyday community members, but specifically those who are entrepreneurs, who are activists, who are in positions of leaders, we have those little secrets and little areas where, because we provide so many beautiful things to community, that we will justify and we will deny. And if we're not careful, those things will morph into some really unhealthy spaces. Yes. I know people who don't want to admit that they may be addicted to pornography or addicted to promiscuity, and because they're suppressing, because dealing with it and working through it and getting the support is different than suppressing it. Yes. And I think one of the most dangerous things it is to not deal with it, suppress it, because then it'll start to morph into 10 times worse. 100%. When we talk about leadership who takes advantage of young children, that more than likely has been somebody who has some other sexual addictions or has been sexually abused themselves. Yeah. They didn't deal with it. They're not constantly actively getting the support they need. Yeah. And then it starts morphing into something that they would have never thought that is not acceptable to society.
My emotional intelligence, you did a good job of continuing the conversation, of setting that up, of humanizing the very bad acts of people like that's in leadership and take advantage, right? But it's already hard for all of us, but for me being a leader in the community, me understanding that when I first started doing this work, and I want to say something else about, I'm gonna stay here. When I first started doing this work and I worked at a foster care agency, it was like I would be very effective with the whole campus, girls and boys, but I would shy away from working with the young girls because I knew they had crushes.
Yeah.
They could do an allegation of like saying, oh, I've had a dream about this particular staff, and they got to do a whole investigation.
Report. Yeah.
Just a dream, right?
A dream. That's deep.
So I seen that happen for one of my mentors, but what I love to see how he operated and what he slowed me down of saying like, Armoni, don't run from that opportunity of being able to show that it's positive males that could be in their life and don't want nothing from them.
Say it again. Look in the camera. Say it again to that young girl right now who is either crushing on somebody or is trying.
You don't really want that.
Yeah. Talk to the camera. Talk to that girl.
So shout out to Ernie. I ain't seen you in a while. I love you to life. I'll find a way to send this to you. You told me very like matter of fact where I was, trying to like stay away from the girl side of the campus just because I know I didn't want them to have the crushes, even though that's normal and stuff like that. But you told me very matter of fact of like you might be one of the first positive males in their life that don't want anything from them.
Come on.
Don't have no alternative motives. I might not be saying that right. And you should sit in that. You should really stand in that so they can see what that looks like. So they can have hope for when it's shifted in the right direction for their potential husband. Because here go another example. Wifey's dad, when they line up how his personality set up in X, Y, and Z, I can see why she likes me because I'm very much like her dad with the personableness and connectedness and stuff like that. So she got to see a positive male in her life, a father figure in her life that allowed for her to see something that she can go after one day.
Beautiful.
For her.
Beautiful.
And so I knew as a leader, and this goes for the fellas that's doing community work, set those boundaries and make them very clear and cut so you can feel comfortable to work with those young kids, but don't run from it. Don't run from it. Set boundaries in a way where it's like whenever you're meeting with them, keep the door open, make sure somebody's able to see y'all at all times. Set a boundary of like, hey, let's name it out. Let's name it right now. I can see that you guys might have the googly eyes and stuff like that, but if you make me feel uncomfortable, unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to be there for you. And I want to be there for you.
Yeah.
So that's something that like he taught me, and it really, really helped me be a force with working with girls and boys because they need that.
It's so good. It's so good. And I
my bad. I was long-winded, but that's really
this is the long-winded spot in this conversation. It is necessary. We cannot talk about this as much because it's not only healthy for that young girl or woman, young woman in community or grown woman in community to know what it feels like to have brotherhood and sisterhood in an exchange that is intrinsically based on our growth and development to benefit each other. And sometimes people go screwing with somebody sexually, and that could have been a mogul that I made $1 million with. That could have been somebody that we changed lives with. And we cut that short because we assume that that's the only way to appreciate and value each other. I think secondly, what's really powerful about what you just said is healthy for men too. Yeah. Men, it's not enough for us to say, girls, you need to understand your power with them jiggly parts. Girls, you need to understand how you cut in your eyes. It's important for a man to understand that just because you can doesn't mean you have to. That just because this person is vulnerable and opening up is not an entry point for you in more than one way. And true leadership from a man is two people consensually choosing from a space of sacred wisdom, knowledge, mutual respect, and hopefully love. And so I see, and I know people personally in my life who are leaders in community, and you got baby mamas half your age. Let's talk about it. I have men in our community where I have to make sure to foster certain conversations because you liking and viewing in the middle of the night, young girls that I work with and know that there's only so many men that's going to be liking and viewing and putting hot emojis on your sexualized pictures. That is part of her growth and development. Just because she's seeking that attention,
ain't got nothing to do with you.
Ain't got nothing to do with you. And it's real, and we have to talk about this.
So this is very therapeutic, and I want to go back to one thing you said, and I'm trying to stay in the moment, but I really appreciate what you said about your journey with marijuana and where you're at now, because part of what you said really hit me, where it's like I realized that I had a lot of transactional friends. Where now that I'm not the dude that, even if I'm not on the ladies, I have the ladies. I have the access to the ladies. So if we have the kickback, Armani gonna bring them all. You know, it's times where I didn't have somewhere to stay, but since I had connections to the ladies in the parties, that I always had somewhere to stay, because they're like, bro, pull up, you know. And so what I'm getting at is
using you as the lure,
right? No, for sure. And I knew it. So I'm like, hey, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? I need to be able to stay on your couch tonight. You know.
Yes.
But going back to what you said about, like, you know, that transition of those friends not necessarily being around as much, it did that smaller percentage respecting where you're coming and that you're bettering yourself at X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I want to do a better job, and I want to call it out to just focus on that 20%, you know, because those people are amazing. Those people are blessings. And even if they're on their journey, they still respected me enough to know that that's not what type of time I'm on, you know, and how much that means to have those people. And sometimes I think about, you know, you have friends since middle school, since high school. So it's like that long set of time is like, man, we got to stay connected because this is so beautiful, but maybe we don't, you know? And I for some reason, therapeutically, I want to make sure I drew that parallel. I appreciate you saying that, because it gave me language, or just gave me like an understanding that, like, that's normal. That people kind of fall off for different seasons and so on and so forth.
You know, I think sometimes when we're talking about this dynamic between folks, it's just like human attraction, right? Like, let's really go there, because what happens is human attraction gets pimped, and then it gets taken advantage of, and then it turns into undesirable situations. Let's make it very clear, especially for young adults and adults who may be struggling with these boundaries. And you're like, okay, I have a sexual addiction, right? I'm a sexual abuser. I'm a person in positions of power or attractiveness or beauty or money. And I know, and I've figured out in society how to use that to take advantage of either young adults or grown folks that have areas of deficiency where they don't feel confident enough to say no, even when you're telling them, I'm going to do harm, and convincing them that they just want to have a piece of time. There's a fine line between not just physical prostitution, but mental and emotional prostitution, where people are so lonely and people want so much validation, especially women want to feel so pretty, that the first person that gives them that attention, whether they like them, whether they are attracted to them, whether there's any potential of anything positive coming, they're craving that. And I think it starts with when you are that yard duty, right? When you are that, educator, when you are that community brother, that setting those strong boundaries and being okay with saying, you are making me feel uncomfortable, little girl. Stop batting your eye. I know that energy. I know what you're mocking in your favorite celebrities and your favorite artists, and I don't like that. Be the first man to say, I know you're shooting me energy, and vice versa. Be the young person or the person who knows that this is teetering a boundary here, and I'm going to speak to it, and I'm going to stand in my godly self before it goes so far. And then on a weak moment or a vulnerable moment or a needy moment, whether it's financially, mentally, and emotionally, somebody can come in and either take advantage of you, or you put yourself in a position where you're easy to be taken advantage of. And so I appreciate this moment because I've always had a passion for, this leadership accountability in this gray area where, people in positions of power can say, I didn't know better. I didn't know better. Like, if you are in policy, if you're in community, there's rules and regulations 100%. That you can't cross there. There needs to be more community codes that come forward. And before we can even create that code, it takes people like you that are willing to be open and transparent. To be accountable, yes, for your part, but also recognize society molded this in me. Patriarchy wasn't something you created. You're a product of it. But at some point, you were really able to realize that and had a passion to change that. And I commend you for that. And that's going to be a beautiful example. If you never do another project, optimism, if you never do another speech, just being a man in the community that was willing to admit I had an addiction, that I have an issue, that I need support, and if you still need to actively be supportive, right, to keep those things in a world that's constantly inundating us with things that'll sway us from that godly, upright position and intention to make healthy choices for yourself and for the women that you engage. And so I thank you for that. I know for some people this is a tough conversation to be that open. And
it's only tough because we don't talk about it enough, like you were saying. If it's on camera, off camera, and I think that is the part. It's like we have to have the conversation. If we don't normalize it, it allows for it to just you know, if somebody's in the dark doing something, anything can happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like.
So before we close out.
I'm looking, just what I'm saying is because you said something earlier, you planted a seed, and I would love for us to explore how we can support conversation.
That's where I was going. So we're in synergy now. So yes, the first step is being aware that regardless of how much this planet takes advantage of over-sexualizing individuals, the consumerism behind it, how much money is made off of people just being broken and hurt, right? We recognize that. Yeah. We recognize patriarchy and its role in that. The next step is you realizing like, hey, this is affecting the capacity that I could be, right? Going from that 30 to like, if I can be this amazing at 30% capacity, what can I be as a man and as a human being if I really deal with this, whatever addiction, drugs, substance abuse, sexual abuse, all these kind of things. Yeah. What is it that you would advise? There's a young man and or woman or person out there right now watching this. Yeah. That's like, I have a sexual addiction. Yeah. It's either porn or it's leading to promiscuity. Yeah. I see I'm harming myself. I'm hiding from it. I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling shameful. I don't know what to do. Let's give them 3 steps and extract it from your journey and how it's actively helping you now to stay in that upright and healthy space to not revert back to that behavior.
No, thank you. Spiritually, the first part of it is I couldn't have done this without God. Like that's my I statement, whatever works for whoever it is. Like I still can't do this. Every time I tried to do it off my man-made power, I fell on my face every single time. And so I know I needed a higher power to help me through this because it ain't no way. Ain't no way, like the meme say, ain't no way.
So that spiritual connectivity.
So the spiritual connection is key to me. Community is number 2. I need to be around people that were like-minded on their journey, or maybe they're at a different, like, I would be somebody you would want to connect with because I have the testimony to truly say I understand where you're going through. Because sometimes people try to help, but it's like you don't really, you might not understand. It's levels to it. You know what I'm saying? So community and being around people that's peer mentors or maybe mentors that have been through there. So community is and mentorship is very, very key. And I think the third thing. What's the third thing that kind of come to mind? Accountability, like you gotta be able to like be real, no justifying it. Like you seen, even in this podcast, I justify things because I'm still working through it. But justifying it don't get you anywhere, right? So literally doing the work. I ain't trying to sell the book.
Sell the book.
But the thing is, I'm not trying to sell the book. But what I'm saying is, these are the type of questions within this book.
Tools.
They're tools. Literally, I had my little mentee go with me to UC Davis yesterday, and one of my favorite things people would say to me is like, nobody's ever asked me that. And so this is what this book is about. It's asking questions that allow for you to walk in your purpose. This book has a lot of different prompts, different videos, some QR codes, a lot of different discussions around just your holistic life or whatever. But it's not a masterpiece until you put your work into it. And beautiful. So plan on the word of homework. I'll never want to give out homework. I give out life work, tools that you can use for the rest of your life on your self-development journey. And we got one, and it's more to come with that. And I think in a lot of ways, we need times to upload our thoughts and our conversations with ourselves and to be able to reflect on, see how far you've came. Yeah. You could do this book this year, and then you could look at it 2 years from now, a year from now, and be like, dang, look how far I've came. Look how my thoughts has evolved. Or look how I don't even care about that much as much anymore. So this is just one of the tools that you can operate in that. And this ain't something I just Googled or got on YouTube with. I live this. I live life work. And I could open up a page right now and this would be a blessing to myself. And so that's what it is.
Very good. Number 1, spirituality. Number 2, community
and mentorship.
And number 3, accountability and the tools that help you to be accountable.
Life
there
work.
You have it. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
And I knew this was going to be therapeutic for me. And that's the beauty in the work that we get to do. Mm-hmm. I became a better person, a better man. I know you're closing out, my bad. But I want to say, like, I became a better person, a better man because, and I constantly get a chance to have that privilege of self-development because I'm in the work. I'm doing the work. And even when I go certain places where I'm supposed to be the person that's giving, I know I'm going to ask open-ended questions and get feedback that's going to grow me too. Yeah. And so that is the blessing and the honor that we get to do every single day.
Beautiful.
Even this podcast alone.
Yeah. I thank you for this time. the big journey with Refreshing Convos is peeling back the layers.
Yes. Well, we
so
did that.
All kind of layers, right? Layers on layers, and showing and modeling what that looks like, because there are aspiring artists, leaders, entrepreneurs, and we want to give footprints and examples of the different variety of pathways to get to those goals.
Yeah.
And even if you back up and you have to find and try something else, it's our job to be transparent about that if we really care about the legacy that we live on, if we want it to be carried in a way that is truthful, just, and righteous. And so, for those of you who are watching, thank you so much for taking the time with us to open your heart, to open your mind, and open your spirit to whatever download you extracted from this, whatever pieces resonate with you. And if it's not for you, perhaps you're working with someone in community who is dealing with, substance abuse, who is dealing with addictions, right? We want to show you what it looks like to do that life work, to own your shit, because the ultimate goal is to refresh yourself and to operate at the fullest capacity that the Most High has given you birthright permission to experience. I thank you. I invite you to check out his book, Life Work. Order it for yourself, and don't just get it for you, get it for a loved one. We love to buy gifts and materialistic things, but gifting tools is the new thing, right? And I invite you, as you take this energy with you, to use this as conversation starters. And yes, refer the podcast. I listen to podcasts because they inspire me and they incite conversations that, because of a certain entry point or a certain quote, can create a whole healing experience with somebody for myself or somebody in my life. So I thank you, Armoni Easley. You've been an amazing guest. Make sure to tune in again for the next episode of Refreshing Convos.